Yep.
All right, guys, we're here at Factory Gym, UK, and we got back section we got to go to today. So I'm gonna put you through my back section and how I play it, and give you some tips along the way, and hopefully you get to learn something and pick up some new tricks on how to improve your back. So let's get to it. All right, guys. So we are just in the midst of starting our off season this part of the year for me. So right now, for my main focus training is I gotta put on as much size as possible. I put on as much muscle as possible during this period. Especially one thing I want to keep improving on is my back. So we're starting our first workout, and it's we got close grip, lat pull down, and straight arm pull down. Those two workouts is one thing I do when I start a workout, and I like to superset both of them. Just mainly, especially when we're starting off. You know, I have the way I warm up is I go straight to the workout. I don't do any, sort of movements or any other thing like that to kind of get my muscle going. I go jumping straight into it. I go very light, and it's just not just to obviously get blood into the muscle, but also to test out the machine, because you don't know how you feel on that day. You don't know how the machine's set up on that day. So things like setting the chair angle, the bar, everything, trying to get it all set up. My first set is basically trying to get that and work out how I feel and how much I can connect to the muscle when I'm doing that movement. So things like setting up the chair, setting up my leg support, setting up how much weight I want to use, and doing my first set with a perfect technique is vital for that first set. Just trying to make sure that everything feels nice and comfortable. And when I can feel my back, I feel my lats as I stretch all the way up and come all the way down. And the machine feels that way, and I connect to very, 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 very well. Before I start raising up my weights and start going heavier, I start getting more intense with it. Same thing goes for both. It's not just getting blood flowing that muscle and getting warmed up, but also testing out and make sure that the machine is just right for what I want to do. Some days you might come in, you might think, okay, that's what exercise you want to do. You get your first set in there, and something just doesn't feel right. It doesn't connect with it properly. It just feels off. The machine might feel off for many different reasons. Time of year, weather, if it's been high, you've been left, anything like that. And if it doesn't feel right, you switch it up. You try something different. But for me, that's one of those things I always pay attention to avoid injury, to get blood flow into muscle. I got to first test it out with my warm-up set. Make sure everything is right. Get a nice squeeze and contraction on each of the first set I do, and then go into it from that point on and start increasing the weight and going more intense with the workout. So just one of those things to pay attention to.
Remember when man came through, one of them girls flirting, people just pulled up and he heard him talk, he end as an angry German. Man, I'm not kind of person, and the guys that are riding solo. Everything I got for just one on two with a black out polo. 2 rounds into the pump to the bell like he did, but you could have said that Congo.
When it comes to close grip, lat pull down, something I want to give you guys a straight tip on. For me, a lot of guys when they do this workout, they don't measure workout. The first thing they want to do is focus on how much heavier they can pull down. Especially when it comes to a muscle like back, a lot of guys compensate by using their biceps while they do a back workout. And I was one of them guys in the past as well. And they see this a lot. Guys don't spend time really opening up the back when they get a stretch. I used to do the exact same thing, and that forced me to call a lot of my bicep, my arms to do the workout. Now, just give you one tip when you do your back workout, man. try to keep your bicep and your arms out of it. Keep your forearms out of it. Keep your bicep out of it. And the way you do that is bring down the weight so you can focus solely on the movement of your lats as you do, getting that stretch in there. Bring the chair nice and low so you can get a full stretch, especially if you have really long arms like me. You need to be able to have a full stretch, not just there, but all the way so you really open up that lats. So bring the chair nice and low and focus on actually opening it up. So when you get up to here, that's not all your back. You have to really stretch it out. And you feel your back open up when you stretch it out to get that full stretch in it and get a full contraction in. When you have that level of full range of movement, you engage your back a lot more when you can actually do that and slow it down. A lot of people only have that much motion when they do a lat pull down. You're only going to use the majority of that is going to be your arm movement. For you to engage your back, you have to open it up and get your back really open and involved completely with your back and not your shoulders and not your arms when you do that movement. That's one big tip when it comes to that pull down. Now with a straight arm pull down on the rope, one thing is when as you go into the movement and you go to range of movement, try to keep your chest up. And I say when you pull it down, try to avoid using your triceps to get that pull. Try to focus on just pulling your lat, pulling down with your lats. And then one of my friends that he says, try to focus on pulling it all the way back and putting something in your back pocket. So really pull it all the way back and feel that contraction in your back at the lower part of the movement. And try to open the same way, open it all the way up and get the lats to really expand and come into contraction. Just 2 tips when you're hitting those 2 movements, okay? We got our second workout of the day, and I got a seated cable row and a prime seated row. These two exercises, I put them back together basically for one reason. The seated cable row is a strength exercise. It hits that middle and lower back area to really give that middle back thickness. And then the prime seated row here, I try to make it focus on the upper back, right where the rhomboids are, just kind of hit that area separately. And I always set those two together because of that motion of trying to capitalize on making that really thick middle back that you have going all the way from your traps, all the way down your spine. That's what those two exercises work great for. Now, when doing these ones, same principle applies. For your first set, don't just jump in and try to feel like, okay, you warmed up with the other one, you're just gonna jump in and put the weights up and start rowing. You wanna test out the machine. First time I did this one just now, the pad was just a bit too narrow for me. It was a bit too short, so I didn't have a chance to really extend my arms all the way to really open my back. Still finished that set, but the minute I got off that, I increased the length of that you'll see, so I have a longer, more stretch. Now, it's one thing if you waste just one set doing that as a warm-up, but when you waste one of your main sets, not doing the form properly, that's most of your strength and energy gone on a wasted set. So that's one of the reasons I said, make sure the first set you do is not just so you can get warmed up, but it's also so you can test the machine and see how well it fits the motion you're trying to do. It's all about feel when it comes to back. You have to feel your back working. You can't just trust on lifting and pulling the weights and just getting the weight from A to B and making sure you get results. It doesn't work that way when it comes to back. You really have to think about it. You really have to focus on trying to make your back involved in the movement you're doing. So really put some forethought into it and not just move the weights from left to right. All right, guys, when it comes to these two exercises, one thing I want to say, obviously, is one thing, the importance of focusing on form, keeping your back as straight as you can and following through with the stretch when you actually pull out. And same thing when you contract, holding that stretch for a second and then holding that contraction just for a second before letting go. But one thing I want to make sure that you guys don't sucker for, which a lot of guys in the gym now, especially new generation, they tend to fall prey to. They focus so much on technique and getting that perfect technique that they completely lose intensity. I'd rather you keep your intensity and have slightly bad form than to focus all on just technique and trying to be as specific as you can and lose the whole intensity in your workout. Remember, intensity and uncomfortableness builds muscle, makes progress. Please don't go to the fall into the rock of trying to be so specific on squeezing slowly that you completely look like you make someone look like they're falling asleep. You're losing all intensity in it. Intensity is key. You see, I never do a workout without being out of breath and bursting out to sweat. You will never catch me working out without this. And that's because my whole general, since before I even knew how to even train properly, was keep it as intense as possible. So intensity is key. Don't let your idea for perfection in your movement to take away from your intensity. Always, always, always keep intensity as priority. Coming to our next workout of the day, and it's dumbbells pullover. Now with this one, I try to focus on just hitting the lats, the outer part of the lats to really get that width. And just focus on putting a lot of tension on that bit of the lats to really get that meaty part of the lats to really put a lot of tension there. Now with this, one thing I'll say is you're trying to focus on getting the right momentum just right, and the actual level of where you actually moving your range of movement is just right. You don't want to go too far down when you pull over your head that you end up pulling out your shoulder, your front delts, and you cause a lot of injury in there. But at the same time, you don't want to come too high up that you pass your level of your chest. That way, you actually have no tension actually being put on the lats at all. So you're trying to keep it on that sweet spot where your lats is right behind your head, but yet not too far in front when you come back up. That gets part of tension. So you want to keep it in that range of motion where the tension is most prominent. If you keep the whole movement in that range, you're going to find proper tension just on the lats. Keep the knees, keep your elbows just nice and slightly bent, and then extend all the way out and bring it all the way in, but keep it nice and controlled the whole time. It's just one of those movements that is really, really effective if you do it right. And it's very easy to get it wrong and cause injury. So be very mindful and very careful. Start off with the weights nice and light so you get a feel for it before you start bringing up and putting more weight on it. One tip when it comes to dumbbell pullovers. You always notice the idea of obviously controlling your form and feeling the range of movement and feeling the exact workout, the exact muscle group you're trying to train. Now, I just did one set where I was a bit too heavy on the dumbbell, and what tends to happen is you tend to call on a lot on your supporting muscles to help instead of the actual muscle you're trying to train. So when I'm pulling over my head, I'm trying to pull it back, I tend to try to call on a lot of my shoulders and my tricep to help me get that movement over instead of my lats. That's to show you that by that point, the weight is too heavy. I got to bring it down more so I can pull out the supporting muscles and just focus on the primary muscles to get the movement going. That is one thing you have to be mindful when you train. When the weights are too heavy, you're calling on a lot of supporting muscles to help you get that movement done. You always got to ask yourself, when I'm doing this movement, am I getting the best out of it? And am I hitting exactly the muscle I'm meant to be training without asking for support from the rest of them? You have to always ask yourself that, try to isolate that muscle you're trying to train. If you're powerlifting, that's a whole different ballgame. Now you just lift heavy as you can. When you're bodybuilding, you're trying to train the muscle to get it bigger. So you have to make sure the movement you're doing is targeting that muscle on its own and it's causing for growth and it's breaking down the muscle so it recovers. So movement like this is one prime thing. Is bring it down. That's what we say. Bring the weight down. Focus on the movement. Focus on the muscle that you're feeling the tension on and you're feeling it burn. And just add more strength to that. Add more resistance to that point. If you add too much, all the supporting muscles comes in to try to help you out. And you get the shake and you get the unsteadiness. That's the point where you've gone too far. Bring it down and stay in that range of feeling pure isolation on that muscle you're trying to train. All right, guys, a quick tip on how to do a dumbbell pullover. Grab yourself a nice dumbbell, something relatively, heavy, but not so much. Have both grips set out right there, and both hands on the dumbbell. Now, what you want to do is you want to tip it over your head, but using the bottom part of the dumbbell to keep a nice arch grip about that around the thicker part of the belt, right over your head. Okay. Now, the idea is to keep a nice little bend on your elbows and not keep it too straight. But make sure that as you pull it over, you don't use your arms doing the movement, your shoulders doing the movement, and you call on just the lats to pull you going forward and stretch it out flat. So if you focus mainly on just getting the lats to really stretch all the way back in your head as you can, and use the same motion to move forward, you get the movement right back in tight. So, quick example, nice and settled grip, just roll, step in your chest, same V grip over there, put it right over in front of your face, put it nice and light into just your lats, left or back, have the lat nice and stretched, and then pull it straight over, like keeping your chest nice and high and straight up from your face again. So all the way back, opening up that lats nice and tight. And then bring it back up forward, pulling from the lats off the tricep, just nice and high, and back to the top again. Okay? And that's how a simple way of doing a dumbbell pullover. Okay? Now I'm gonna get my next set out. All right, guys, so we've got our final workout of the day, and we got rack. One of my favorite back exercises is the rack pull. Very under, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Overrated? Not overrated. What's the opposite of overrated?
Underrated.
It's a very underrated movement, but honestly, man, if you call about building thickness in the back, nothing beats this. I absolutely love it, and I put it at the end of the day, on the end of my workout, my back workout, because by this point I'm fucked, and I know after I do this, my lower back is so shattered, I can't do anything else, I just gotta leave. So I always put on the end of my workout, and I say, man, we're putting on this point, it calls for all the hard to do the movement, and it's a very high intense one. Rack pull is such a simple movement, but it's majority of the time done wrongly, because when you're stacking plates on there, and you're trying to lift it up, people underestimate the idea of what the motion is supposed to be, or what the technique is supposed to be. They just think it's about pulling the bar off the rack and just getting straight up. No, it's about active contraction of your back. So when you're in the lower part of your movement, you want to open up that back as much as you can. As you come up, you want to be able to retract your shoulders and pull and squeeze that back right at the top of the movement to cause that contraction. Then vice versa, when you go down, you want to come down and open your back at the lower part of it, but then contract at the top of the movement as well. You want to keep your back nice and straight and your chest up. You don't want to arch when you're coming down. You want to keep your chest up, head up, chest nice and straight, chest facing forward, and actually lift with that motion while contracting your back. Very, very important to really understand the idea, the dynamics of movement. It's all about contracting your back and flexing it at that point as you go through the range of movement, okay? Nice and simple, but a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people don't understand the dynamics of it. So be very careful when you do this and watch for that movement and watch for the contraction you feel when you're doing that. All right, so as I go through these workouts, I know one of the things people are probably wondering is what sort of rep ranges and set ranges am I hitting? Now, we're going everywhere for 4 sets. Regardless of whether it's a superset or not, we're still doing 4 full sets on literally all our workouts. In terms of rep range, I start nice and high when the weights are still relatively light, so about 15 reps. And then the heavier they get, I go down to 12. And then when I'm maxed out at the heaviest point, I go down to 10. So this is the way I work my ranges, rep ranges in all the sets and all the workouts. Regardless of what I'm supersetting, when the weights are nice and light, I also do 15 reps per workout, or per exercise. And then the heavier the set goes, I start going up to bringing it down to 12. And then the more heavier it gets, I bring it down to 10 and 10. So this one, with rack pull, is different because it's just power exercise. With this one, I literally start off at 10, and I keep increasing the weight until I'm completely maxed out, and I can pretty much hit failure at the end of it because it's the last workout. So at this point, I'm determined to sort of hit failure at the end of the set. All right, guys, so that's a quick breakdown of my back workout today. Now, you see with me, I keep things nice and simple. I keep it straight to the point. I don't get scientific. I don't try to overthink anything. I believe in maximum intensity, maximum effort makes all the results possible. Remember, the smart thing, it's not about making something complicated, but it's making something that seems complicated seem a lot simpler. So my technique has always been, keep it simple, keep it easy to understand, and just go at it full force and make it count. So guys, this is it for today, and I'll catch you guys next time.